Welcome to Reflections in Real Talk. I'm your host, Judy. Today, I am pulling back the curtain behind the wizardry of financial planning, sharing some popular planning tools from Vanguard and the Monte Carlo Simulation that you can use yourself for free. There's one on a website called Bolden, previously New Retirement, and another one called Portfolio Visualizer, but many financial websites offer free simulators. I'll drop the links for both in the description below. One main point that's becoming clear using these tools is to easily understand how your expenses and budgeting choices can significantly impact your financial stability. I'll use a few hypothetical retirement scenarios and the simulator tool on Vanguard and Portfolio Visualizer to explore how sticking to a budget can really make all the difference in meeting your retirement goals. If you're considering retiring before the age of 60 with $500,000, these examples should give you pause because I'm going to be using $1 million in retirement savings, not including a primary residence, at the age of 62. And under many circumstances, that poses risks, as you will see, with double the financial assets and 3 years closer to the age of 65 when you're eligible for Medicare for health insurance coverage, which is a significant expense in retirement. But first, I thought it would be interesting and memorable to explain what the Monte Carlo simulation is and how it got started. The Monte Carlo simulation was developed during World War II by mathematicians Stanislaw Ulam and John van Neumann. The name Monte Carlo comes from the famous casino in, you guessed it, Monaco, reflecting the element of chance and randomness inherent in the method. Ulam was inspired by his uncle's gambling habits, which led to the development of this technique to solve complex problems through random sampling. So, that's just a little bit of fun trivia for your next dinner conversation. The Monte Carlo simulation provides several advantages. It can be adjusted for various factors such as interest rates, life expectancy, inflation, investment returns, and spending patterns. It provides a clearer picture of potential risks and uncertainties in retirement planning. It incorporates a wide range of possible market conditions and outcomes, making it more realistic than simple projections. The results can be demonstrated using graphs showing the most likely outcomes and the range of possible scenarios. The downside are all the input variables, but we have to make some assumptions about future market behavior. And as I've said before, no one has a crystal ball to predict the future. For example, it may not accurately predict rare but impactful events such as major market crashes, world wars, or shifts in world currencies. Nevertheless, it is a valuable tool in helping you understand various possible outcomes for retirement planning. So now that you have a basic understanding of the Monte Carlo simulation, let's apply this to a few examples for retirement planning. Since 62 is the earliest you can take Social Security, we're going to assume a starting age of 62 for our simulation today. Note that Social Security at 62 means a reduced benefit, while 66 or 67 is considered full retirement age. The other assumptions are retirement savings of $1 million in a portfolio mix of 65% stocks and 35% bonds. Our projected annual rate of return is an optimistic 8%. Our full retirement age for Social Security is 67, and Medicare eligibility begins at age 65. Life expectancy of 100, and a legacy goal of $1, which is the amount to leave to your estate. In all the scenarios I will cover, these assumptions remain fixed. The only thing that will change is your monthly budget. And speaking of life expectancy, advisors may use 90, 95, or 100, which can greatly impact your rate of success. You can make your best estimate based on your own health history and outlook, family longevity, or use an online calculator. As morbid as this may seem, this is a critical input for the simulation, so you have to enter some number, but you can always change it later to see what impact that may have. I'll drop the free life expectancy calculator in the description below. Today, I'm going to show you how several annual expense scenarios, starting with $65,000, play out until we can achieve a 99% certainty to achieve your retirement goals, which highlights why budgeting is so critical. I didn't demonstrate the Bolden simulator, even though it has a lot of great detail, but it was a bit more complex for demonstration purposes. But again, the link is in the description below, so you can enter your own information and see what your retirement outlook is. So here we are in the Vanguard simulator, and this has some components to the Monte Carlo simulator built into it and the assumptions we talked about earlier. And this uses 10,000 simulations. And right now, with annual expenditures of 65,000, our likelihood of reaching retirement success or not running out of money by the age of 100 is only 63%. So really not great. And let's just look at how small increments can impact our success. I'm going to back it down to 60,000 and we're at 84%, a little bit better, but still not meeting the mark. So let's back it down to 55,000 and we're at 95%. Now let's go down a little bit more. I'm aiming for 99. Let's see, 53,000. Does that get us to our goal? 98, pretty darn close. 52. Still 98, 51. Okay, we've hit our goal of 99%. So you can see even small incremental changes in your budget greatly impact your ability to hit your retirement goals. And now I'm going to show you Portfolio Visualizer, which has many of these same components as well, but it does not account for our Social Security. So I'm going to adjust that number. So here, as promised, I've got the Monte Carlo simulation from Portfolio Visualizer. This is a free tool. There is a paid version. And here are some descriptions up front and definitions. You can read through that at your leisure. And remember, today we're just testing the $1 million portfolio and seeing if it will last a lifetime. Now, this does not count your Social Security. So I've already adjusted the withdrawal amount. I started at 65,000 and I reduced it to 39,800 to account for the Social Security, which would be 25,200. Okay. And then I am going to select adjusted for inflation and withdrawing the amount annually. And the simulation I'm running is for 38 years, but they don't have that choice. So I just picked 40, but I'll show you how you can look at the 38 years. And we want to look at pre-tax returns. So that assumption is that these funds are coming from a 401k. If you have a lot of Roth IRAs, you can also select after-tax returns, but we're not going to include that in this simulation. And then just using historical returns. And also, I'm going to not select this first simulation sequence of returns risk. So remember, we talked about having a few bad years right up front after retirement, which is a big risk. If you lived through 2008, you can probably relate to that. And many people are afraid that we might have a couple bad years right out of the gate. So I'll go ahead and run that simulation after we're done with the first one. And then for inflation, we're just going to use historical inflation and we're going to rebalance annually, which means we're going to change our allocation as we approach our older years. So right now we're starting with 65% stocks and 35% bonds. And I'm going to run the simulation super quick. And then the first graph we have just confirms our allocations that we selected here. And here is the performance summary. So the 10th percentile is the worst case scenario. The 90th percentile is the best case scenario. So in the best case, we've got the nominal weighted rate of return, and nominal versus real. Nominal is before all of your expenses like advisor fees, taxes, inflation, and so forth. And the 90th percentile here is a great 11.44%. So pretty impressive there. And then here's what your portfolio balance would be at the end of the 40 years. And again, I'm going to peek at the 38 years below. And then nominal is 530 in the worst case and 41 million in the best case. So pretty impressive there. And even when we look at the real rate, we've got 175,000 in the worst case left over at the end of our life and 13,840 in the best case. So great. And here we talk about the safe withdrawal rate. So in many of the videos, and it's common to use the 4% rule. This would be the worst case 4%, and the best case would be 9.52%. And this you might have to adjust each year based on inflation and how your investment portfolio is performing. Here is the graph for the Monte Carlo simulation. So if you hover over in the first year of retirement, you're starting out with $1 million. And then even in the worst case, the 10th percentile, it is sustainable through the end of your life, through 38 years or even to 40 years. And here's the best case scenario, 41 million. That's what you'd be leaving your heirs. Middle 50th percentile is 11,840,000. So pretty impressive. You can also click here and adjust for inflation, and it's a little bit less, but still pretty impressive. And remember, I was showing you in the Vanguard simulation the percentage of success. So here we have at the end of the term 91.99%. So pretty darn good. All right, now let's go back up and let's select that sequence of return risks. And I'm going to just pick the worst 3 years. You can be more aggressive and pick the worst 5 or what have you, but I'm just going to keep it simple. And running the simulation here, see where we got. So this is a whole different ball game, right? Because here we have the portfolio end balance is 0 in the 10th percentile, the 20th, 25th, and even the 50th percentile. So as you can see, if we did have a couple bad years right out of your retirement gate, you would run out of money, and we can scroll down and see just when that would happen. Now in the 75th percentile, you'll still be doing okay. And that also impacts your safe withdrawal rate. So here you've got to scale back to 2.65% in the worst case scenario, up to 3.9% in the 50th percentile. So really what that highlights is that you're going to need to have some flexibility if there are some bad years. And then let's look here at the timeline, again, starting out with $1 million in the worst case scenario. When does it drop down to dangerously low? Okay, 17 years in the worst case scenario, you're out of money. And that's not very good. So it's a little bit risky there with $1 million and even with the Social Security. And then over here, we can scroll up to the best case scenario, $20 million. So if everything goes well and turns around after the first 3 years, you'd be good to go. And in the 50th percentile, let's see where that runs out of money. Let's see. Keep going. Okay, so we're at about 36 years at the 50th percentile. And here you can see that you would run out of money in that case at year 36. And remember, we're starting at the age of 62. So 62 plus 36, 98. So you can determine if you feel like that's a safe bet again, and if you have some flexibility, if you have a home that you could sell, or you could pull equity out or do a reverse mortgage or rent out a room or downsize. There's always options. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And again, just a disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not advising you on any investment strategy. We're just showing theoretically what $1 million portfolio looks like if you project out to a 100-year lifespan and withdraw $39,800 a year plus your Social Security for a total of $65,000 a year. And that's Portfolio Visualizer. So I hope you enjoyed that overview. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else you'd like to see, and I can get a little bit more granular in a more in-depth overview of this really, really amazing product. What age will you retire at, and what will your monthly budget be? Drop some feedback in the comments below, and let's get this conversation started. Thanks for joining me today on Reflections and Real Talk.